Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And Skyrim's a game of many factions. From elite wizard colleges to spooky assassin cults, The Elder Scrolls V offers a little something for everybody. But of all of Skyrim's various organizations, none is quite as dedicated to her traditions and the Nordic way of life than the Companions. Based in Yovaskur, a hall in Whiterun, they trace their order all the way back to Ysgramor and Skyrim's original conquerors themselves in the Merithic era. Now they strive to preserve their forefathers' traditions and serve the people of this province, sometimes for a bit of a price. With such an impressive history and equally entertaining questline, there's bound to be a few secrets, Easter eggs, and tiny details regarding this hardy group of warriors that much of the community have overlooked. So today we'll be diving into 5 companion facts you may have missed in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Starting off, throughout much of the Companions' questline, we're sent to recover fragments of Wuthrod. According to legend, Wuthrod was the famous battle axe wielded by Ysgramor himself thousands of years ago, as he led the conquest of Skyrim from the Snow Elves. Long after the campaign concluded and Ysgramor's own death, the Companions still held on to the axe. But over time, due to a series of conflicts and it occasionally being stolen, the once mighty blade was reduced to bits and pieces that have been scattered across the land. Eventually, we do recover each shard of the weapon, and with the help of Yorlan Greymane, more on that man later, are able to reforge it and keep it for ourselves. Wuthrod does additional damage to Myr, as one may have guessed, but there's a couple more interesting quirks about this item that you may not have picked up on. For one, quite morbidly, at the head of the axe is an engraving of a screaming elf, which goes to show just how seriously the Companions hated Snow Elven kind. Furthermore, in the game's concept art, Wuthrod initially is suggested to have had a much more gruesome name planned by Bethesda. In early renderings, we can see Bethesda at one point intended to call the axe not Wuthrod, but instead Elf Grinder, which is honestly a tad barbaric. Wuthrod, one translated from Atmoran, Ysgramor's native tongue, simply means Storm's Tears. A much tamer name if I do say so myself. But the next time you decide to draw this infamous item in the presence of an elven follower like Thayendel, maybe take a step back and think twice. It could make them a little uncomfortable. Next on our list, while we're on the topic of the guild's clear anti-elven leanings, I feel now is an interesting time to bring up Athos. He is or really the only, Dunmer member of the organization. Now, considering the before-mentioned clear prejudice against elves the Companions was founded upon, a dark elven member certainly seems a bit odd. And even more intriguing are this character's ambitions. You see, Athos isn't content on being just another shield brother. Speak to him, and he'll proudly state his intentions to one day lead the entire faction.
Soon enough, it'll be me. In the meanwhile, the Circle handles our daily routine, and Kodlak advises them as Harbinger.
The way this dialogue is delivered implies that Athos is quite a bit arrogant. But the thing here is that these ambitions actually seem pretty attainable. You see, the book, Great Harbingers, which describes some of the more notable historic leaders of the guild, mentions one figure by the name of Henantir the Outsider. I may have butchered that pronunciation, who joined the ranks of Yovaskur sometime near the end of the First Era. Henantir was the first elf to ever enlist with the legendary group, and apparently upon joining, he was treated very poorly. So much so that he wasn't even allowed to enter the hall itself. He had to live outside. But elves have much longer lifespans than normal humans, and this guy trained incredibly hard. Eventually, the elf started outliving numerous leaders, and grew to become the faction's oldest member, and quite trusted. So much so that he was eventually made the faction's head honcho himself. It's because of Henantir that the Companions grew to become a lot more tolerant of their elven friends. Now, as all folks do, this character at some point in time died, and we don't have any record of other elves in the Companions until Athos. So there's a fair chance that if this Dunmer is able to just sit around patiently and outlive everyone else, while showing a fair degree of dedication to the cause, he could very well realize his dream of one day becoming a Harbinger himself. Coming at number 3, Yorlan Greymane is the Nordic blacksmith who operates the Skyforge. He's almost universally hailed as Skyrim's greatest living blacksmith. though part of that is arguably due to the special nature of the forge he works. While not an official member of the Companions, he's sort of treated like one, and is responsible for manufacturing all of their members' equipment. Speak to either his wife Fralia, who sells jewelry he forges in the town's marketplace, or fellow blacksmith Adrian Avenici, and they'll both ecstatically praise the man.
I can tell you're new around here asking a question like that. My husband Eorland tends the Skyforge up at your Vasker. The Companion's Mead Hall. Oh, there's no finer smith in the Nine Holds. You should ask him about his work. It's the only subject that'll get him talking.
The best blacksmith in Whiterun. Jorland Greymane's got that honor. Man's steel is legendary. All I ask is a fair chance. Aye, that I do. I've got to, if I hope to be as good as Jorland Greymane someday.
However, something unique about Jorland is that he's not an essential NPC. At least, not always. While it's true he can't be killed initially, after completing the Companions' main questline, he loses his essential status. It's not entirely clear why this is, seeing as a number of other characters in the Companions keep theirs after the story ends. But regardless, once you've finished up with the guild, Jorland can be sent to Talos. What's so neat about this though, is that if you decide to kill the acclaimed blacksmith, the dialogue of both his wife Fralia and Adrian will change quite noticeably. And Fralia even gets a bit upset if you bring up her husband's name.
Curse you for bringing up that bitter memory. Not long ago it was my husband Eorland. There was no finer smith in the Nine Holds. Now he's dead and gone, and the Skyforge of Uraskar lies cold.
I don't claim to be the best blacksmith in Whiterun. Jorland Greymane was that, and more. But now he's dead. All I ask is a fair chance.
For 4th spot, Skior and Aella are two longtime Companions members. But the pair indeed appear to be keeping a big secret from their brothers and sisters. Some dialogue we can overhear between Aella and Najada Strongarm is our first clue at this possibility.
I've heard some rumors about you and Skjor.
And if you want to keep having ears, you'll pretend you didn't.
Is it not allowed?
It's not exactly forbidden, but even so, it's not true. So that's that.
So clearly something is up. Or at the very least, there are rumors that something is up between the two. Aella blatantly denies these accusations, though it seems that she and Skior obviously have something they're keeping from everyone else, as we can also snoop in on a conversation that may rarely occur between the two, or dare I say, couple. Take a listen.
Are you prepared for tonight's hunt?
I've been thinking, we need to be more discreet.
There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
You know the old man doesn't like it. Let's just not be too obvious.
The likely conclusion to draw is that these hunts between the two aren't just hunts, but include some romantic component, or something intimate. We know that the Companions do allow their members to enter relationships with each other. In fact, we can marry some of them, though it's likely the action could be frowned upon behind closed doors, which gives reason for Aella's secrecy, yet their assertions that they're not doing anything wrong. I might add that in that conversation we just played, there's some apparent opposition on behalf of Kodlak, who, quote, doesn't like what they're doing. One who's inclined to take Aella's word may assume that the old man just doesn't like the idea of two companions hunting together, for, I don't know, traditions or something. But we can hear additional dialogue between Kodlak himself and Aella, where she openly tells him about her plans to go on a hunt with Skior, and he doesn't seem bothered at all.
How goes the hunt?
Skjor's heard rumors of a bear the size of a mammoth in Hammerfell. We're going to seek it out.
What glorious prey. Come back alive, and with stories to tell.
So, if the old man knows that the two hunt together, why the discretion? Clearly they're doing something a little more than hunting. Whatever that is, you can draw your own conclusions on that. And finally, last on our list, this one, perhaps next to the lore behind Wuthrad, was probably my favorite when I first learned about it. But it's actually possible to run into members of the Companions as a part of random encounters. I happened to come across Vilkas and Raya, who were seemingly hunting a saber cat at the time, though the cat turned out to be a tad tougher than the two had predicted, and ended up bringing down Vilkas and straight up murdering Raya to death. So perhaps not the most successful hunt. Seriously, she died right then and there, and I never saw her again. Evidently, these interactions seem to be quite rare, and only occur outside of the Whiterun hold. Which is rather odd when you think about it, because, you know, that's where they live, but maybe by doing this, Bethesda means to convey a sense of duration to their hunting trips. Maybe Bethesda wants you to think these trips last weeks or days, or something to that effect. On an unrelated note, the fact that we can meet Vilkas and Raya hunting together only further goes to show that there doesn't seem to be much of a problem within the group if two of their members hunt privately. Which goes back to Skjor and Aela. But in fairness, as mentioned, Raya did sort of die permanently on her hunting trip, so maybe there is some reason for opposition. No matter, next time you're out and about Skyrim's wilderness and spot a werewolf or two in the distance, think twice before attacking. It may just be a very familiar face behind some unfamiliar fur. And with those final words of wisdom, we are going to wrap up. 5 facts you may have missed about the companions in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Which of the tiny details, Easter eggs, facts, whatever you'd like to call them that we went over today did you find to be the most surprising? And what interesting bits of info about the companions, or really any other guild, do you know of that I haven't tackled before on this channel? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.